Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we are going to be returning to the Baseball Diamond and continuing our 2019 Fantasy Baseball This or That series. And in these series, which I will link after the video, also as well with my MLB preseason 2019-2020 videos, which I have a bunch of, we're discussing two players who are being picked in about the same round of 2019 season-long drafts, and they play the same position, so makes it a tough choice, and we have to pick between one of them. Opening day is in 3 days, so I'm obviously really excited. There's still a lot of important names to get out there, and we're going to discuss two more today. And those names being two sixth-round third basemen, according to FantasyPros.com aggregate rankings. Those being first Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's being picked around pick number 61 on all platforms, versus Matt Carpenter, who's being picked around 67th overall on all platforms. And before we make a verdict, we have a couple of factors that we have taken in all of our other videos so far. The first being their career and last year's 2018 recap. So with that being said, we will start with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, with his career in 2018 recap, we can't do it because he has 0 years MLB experience. This will be his rookie year, and he's obviously the highest picked rookie in all of this current year's fantasy baseball world. So I believe we can look a little bit at his minor league stats, those being his resembling a video game. It's pretty ridiculous how well he played in the minors. He batted .331 throughout 3 years across all stages of the minor leagues, so absolutely absurd. Batting 400 or 500 in stints in specific classes, so just absolutely insane. He had more walks than strikeouts throughout his career in the minor leagues, so plate discipline is crazy, doesn't strike out really at all. It's pretty fun to watch, and if you just YouTube his name, you'll see his monstrous power potential, his moonshot home runs. It's pretty phenomenal. I can't wait for him to be called up. I was waiting for him last year, and it's going to be really fun to watch. His dad is obviously a Hall of Famer who's known mostly for his hitting prowess, so he's got the genealogy there. And like I said, he really should have been called up last year. The team was really bad, so they just decided to keep him in the minors and not ruin his years of service. So he's going to miss a starting month here with an oblique injury, and that also just gives them another excuse to keep him out for that month or so, get that extra year of service that is required if he sits out as a minor leaguer to start the major league season. Then they call him up for the rest of the year, get him that experience for this year, and get that extra year of service, which is so important. And finally, for his career, some scouts have not hyperbolized and have said that he is literally the best hitting prospect they've ever seen. So all of these transcendent numbers, everything put together, he seems like pretty can't miss. It's hard to gauge in MLB how prospects will actually perform when on the field, especially when compared to other sports like basketball and football, where it's a little bit easier to tell when a superstar is going to hit. He seems like a pretty can't miss guy, and especially to my eye watching him. So that being said, we will then move on to Matt Carpenter, who I believe has been an extremely historically undervalued and productive fantasy player and asset in the fantasy baseball community. He's not really the biggest name, but throughout his entire career, he's just been extremely productive. So in his 7 seasons as a Cardinal, last 7 concurrent seasons, He's played over 114 games or 114 games in at least each of those seasons. And he had really good finishes in a majority of them. In 2012, he was sixth in the Rookie of the Year voting. And then in 2013, he made the All-Star game and was fourth in MVP in a massive breakout year. And then he made the All-Star game in 2014. In 2015, he was 12th in the MVP. In 2016, he made the All-Star game. He had a little bit of a mediocre 2017, raised his expectations a little bit down for 2018 as he burned some players. But then he was ninth in the MVP voting last year and had a great year. So, like, those are just really awesomely productive averages throughout a career. And I have no problem picking him, and I love picking him really much in fantasy baseball. In 2018, his stats were really good. He played 156 games. He scored 111 runs, which is better than his 104 runs, which are his expected averages if he were to play through his 162 season for his career. He hit 36 home runs, which is a really important stat to point out because his career average for those 162 games in a season is 21. So saw a massive power uptick last year. That being said, had only 81 RBIs, so it didn't really translate into a big RBI increase where his projected was 77. He's not really a big stolen base guy, only 4 with a projected of 3, and not really a big average guy. The power numbers went up, but the average went down. He hit around 257, and he was expected to hit around 274. So whether that being his role in the team, just seeing pitches a little bit better, he saw a massive power uptick, and I'm not really so sure if that's going to be reliable into next year, but we could see that average go up, and he's just a really good fantasy player. Like I said, he spurned a lot of people with that 2017, gave players a really good 2018 last year, and I think he's going to do the same this year. The next aspect we'll take in mind into both players was what teams did in the offseason to surround the players or notes around each player. And with Vladimir Guerrero, Toronto more or less stood pat. They did replace 3 of their 5 starting pitchers, but it's an older, and they replaced their older lineup mainstays from Troy Tulowitzki and Russell Martin, and they're just moving on with younger players. They're just fully embracing their youth movement, as the Yankees and Red Sox are far and away supposed to be the division winners this year. And they have 2 of the top 10 hitting prospects in the league, with obviously Vlad being number 1, and then Bo Bichette is a consensus top 10 in most lists too. So I think it's just really about youth movement with the lineup. I believe Smoke and Kendrys Morales are going to be their only projected starters in the lineup who are over 30 years old. So just get those 2 prospects this year, as much MLB experience as possible, that really young lineup, as much experience, and just try to contend as early as 2020 and 2021. There's a very slight chance that they could make the playoffs this year, but I really think this is just a future investment. And I also think it's important to know that there's no batting order franchise player who has his role set in stone. So I believe once Vlad gets called up, he's going to be given every situation possible in order to move up. And by the end of the year, I think the sky's the limit in order of hitting third, fourth, second, leadoff. He's going to be hitting wherever is best for the team, best giving him his experience moving forward. And that sky's the limit in that lineup with not a lot of franchise players. So even if they don't contend for the playoffs, I don't really think it hurts Vlad in that case. And with Carpenter, I've mentioned the Cardinals a lot in this offseason before. I really like their move with getting Paul Goldschmidt. They're expected to move Carpenter into the possible leadoff position in the lineup. I mentioned he's not really an average guy and a stolen base guy, but they're hoping that will sort of pop that up, and then he can also provide that power, and that will just be the best spot for him. Hey, they're the MLB experts, and I'm not, so it's probably a good idea. They're going to go Carp, Goldschmidt, DeJong, and Ozuna, and that's a pretty good foursome. Along with their starting pitchers, I expect them to contend in that hard division, which is good for them throughout the year. And if he's healthy, giving the opportunity, I think he's going to be a really good mainstay hitter in that lineup with every possible chance to put up some numbers. I love the Goldschmidt trade, providing him protection, and he's going to do really well no matter what, I think. I will mention, though, this is his age 33 year, and he is supposed to miss opening day with back issues. So maybe this is the year that a little bit of doubt comes into your mind with injuries and age when it comes to Carpenter. So all those being said, I think we are ready for a verdict. And this was a very hard verdict. I do want to mention that. I see this as going, you could choose one of two paths. You can take a young stud with potential, especially at the end of the year. If he catches on and moves up that lineup and is hitting really well, you could have a league winner at the end of your year on your hands. Or a safe pick who, if I believe he stays fully healthy, he should be going a round or two at least above where he's going. It's pretty easily projection-wise. So my final verdict, and I'm going to stick with it, is going to be the young stud, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's a little risky. He's going to miss a month. Uncertainty with how he reacts to the MLB experience and the batting order spot. I think at the start of his call-up, he'll hit around 6th or 7th or so. And if he does struggle, maybe he'll stay there. And that obviously takes a hit, especially with Carpenter hitting in the leadoff and all those dudes hitting behind him. But overall, I just believe. I believe in what I've seen from Vlad. I believe in the opportunity he's going to be given with that franchise. And I believe, like I said, he's going to be a league winner at the end of the year. He's going to be hitting really well, putting up numbers, and they're going to try to get him that Rookie of the Year trophy. And I just really like where he's going to be. If you can get through that month of injury and getting them that extra service year, I think he's going to be called up pretty immediately after that, and you're going to be good to go with a really awesome player that you're going to want to buy into and say, I bought into that player and he did really well. I love Carpenter, but with that being said, the back injury and age do scare me a little bit. The power number regression, which I believe is no matter what going to happen, it should tick up his average and his runs, but the RBI, like I said, a little bit low, and if that gets lower, that would be really bad, and those home runs are going to take a hit, I believe, no matter what. Not really a stolen base threat, and he's not really your prototypical leadoff hitter, so maybe he starts the year off with that back injury slow. It doesn't really give him that speedy thing they want at the start of the lineup, and they move him back. So I just really like what I see forward, future projection-wise, going out of Vlad, out of what could possibly go wrong for Carpenter, and I just love Vlad. I want to buy into him. I think this is the year, and I highly encourage you all to do it. And with that being said, I appreciate you all watching another video. Just like you, I can't wait for the Major League Baseball season and see all these players play. I'll be back with you tomorrow with another video. I'll leave you some links just now so that you can check out everything else I've put forward. And I can't wait to talk to you all tomorrow. It's a pleasure as always, and I hope you all have a great day.